All right, so one of the things about this particular feature that is a bit challenging is it isn't just angled this way, it's also angled this way. So if you look at the relative thickness here, let me go to the top view, of that space right there, as you go back to the end of the gun, that space kind of tapers. You can see on this side too. It's even though it's different than over here because of the perspective, you can see that as it moves forward, it gets to be a significantly thicker cut out of from the top view down there. So we will handle this hopefully with another draft. But I'm going to want to do a negative or a combination here, cutting this piece out of this piece. So I need to make sure that I don't have any kind of leftover sections like that. So I'm just going to do a quick push-pull, hit OK, and we'll make sure that we're clear on the back. I'll do a push-pull in there as well. So the draft for this one is going to need to start here and then operate on this face. So we're going to modify, draft, click our base, and then, oops, looks like I already put something in there. Maybe I clicked it on accident. So that's where we started, that's 0. And we just want to kind of move it out a tiny bit. So let's try like 0.5. Oops, I think it needs to go negative 0.5 or negative point something. So we've got a little bit too far because that's our point. So we need a little bit of this taken off, just not quite that much. So let's try something like negative 0.2, 0.3. Let's try 0.3. Hit OK. So I'm going to go ahead and do a mirror on this so that I have one on both sides. Select the geometry. Select the mirror plane. In this case, I'll just need one of these work planes here. Hit OK. And I'm going to go to modify and then combine. So the piece we're going to keep and then the parts we're going to use to do the cutting. Make sure cut is selected and we'll hit OK. So from the top down, we have a difference here, although it looks like maybe based on our top-down reference anyway, this could be a little wider to begin with. But our thickness does taper. So let's look at it from the front just to confirm. So I think the thickness is probably okay. Let's go to the side view. I'm going to turn the front and top canvases off and turn side left back on so I can sort of get a sense for what's going on with this cut, and you can see that it is actually way too high up at this point. And it looks like the angle isn't quite right either. So let's go ahead and back up a couple steps here. And I am just going to do a little press pull. Actually, maybe I'll pull this guy down so we have some room to work with. And I'm going to do a press pull on this face here. And then we'll scoot this up a little bit more to kind of come back and look. And it looks like that it starts off a little bit closer to what it needs to look like on the front, but we're just a little low on the back. So I think that's probably going to be one of these draft operations. I think if you select it, it should give you the option to edit the feature. So that was -3. Let's see what, and you can see what that angle is there. Let's see what -2 looks like. I think it needs to go the other direction. Try that one more time. -2, we'll go to -4. That's looking pretty good. All right. So for the time being, I can live with that. Now I've just demonstrated how flexible this is. So if we get some other measurement or some feature in there and we realize that there's a little problem, that's no big deal. We can always come back and modify that. So now I'd like to go ahead and cut the hole for the barrel. I'm going to go to the front view here, turn on my front reference, and I'm going to make a new sketch. And for this sketch, instead of using the work planes, I'm actually going to use this front face here. And I want to make sure that I have access to the center line when I draw this circle out. And you can see it's going to want to snap onto that center line there, so that makes this very convenient. And I'll just kind of get it pretty close. It looks like there's maybe some shadowing or something going on down there, but I think it's pretty accurate relative to what's going on up here. So hit stop sketch. And now that that circle is drawn directly on that plane there, I can actually just push it back. And it doesn't really matter how far back we go. At this point, we're just kind of eyeballing that stuff. Let's go ahead and hide the canvases and take a look at what we've got so far. All right, so now we've got that main cut there. Let's go ahead and add these little extra cuts here. So I'm going to make this as another sketch. Go to the side view here. So for that piece, we'll just do an arc. So from there to there, and then over here, we'll make a line. And I'm actually going to use a spline for this, I think, or maybe a fillet will work. That's probably a little easier. So I'm going to go to, actually, I'll do this fillet in the geometry, because there's an issue you run into. I'll go ahead and hit stop sketch here, where if you fillet a sketch, it limits some operations that you can do down the road, which is kind of an annoying thing. So I'm actually going to do a right click and then go to press pull, and I'm going to hold the left mouse button, and it's going to give me an option here of what I want to use to do my press pull operation on. And I'm going to hold shift, do the same thing over here. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and we'll do one side because it's different on the other side. I'm going to make this cut, and for distance, I'm going to say 2. Now what that means is I can click on this surface here, and they will cut to that surface. So the reason I like this particular option for this cut is because now I can modify this surface, and those cuts will just come along for the ride. So it's very convenient. So in the next video, we will maybe add in these sort of dashed cuts here, and we'll start cutting out some of the detail that's on the other side here.